Ladies and gentlemen, fear is something we all face. It doesn't discriminate no matter who you are or where you come from. It shows up in your life. But the difference between those who let fear cripple them and those who rise above it is in how they respond to it. Today I want to talk about overcoming fear and reclaiming your power. The first step is simple, but it's often the hardest to acknowledge it. You've got to face that fear head on and give it a name. The more you run from it, the more it grows. But when you look it in the eyes, you begin to understand that fear only holds the power you give it. Take a moment to ask yourself, what am I truly afraid of? When you recognize it for what it is, you strip away its mystery and suddenly it's no longer this huge, insurmountable force. It becomes something you can tackle. Fear isn't always a bad thing. You see, fear can either paralyze you or propel you forward. It all depends on your mindset. If you change your perspective and start to view fear as fuel, you can use it as a motivator. The energy that comes with fear, that surge of adrenaline, can be the same force that pushes you beyond your limits. Instead of letting fear stop you, let it light a fire inside of you. Fear often thrives in our minds because we allow it to. We repeat the same thoughts over and over, convincing ourselves that the worst will happen. But I'm telling you, it's time to break that pattern. When fear starts to creep in, shift your state, stand up, move, do something different to interrupt that thought loop. Fear feeds on inaction. By breaking the pattern, you regain control and start creating a different reality. Listen carefully. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's taking action despite the fear. The more you act in the face of fear, the more it starts to shrink. Every time you push through, you're building the muscle of courage, strengthening it with every move. You won't always feel fearless, but by taking that step forward, you'll condition yourself to rise above whenever it tries to hold you back. Finally, one of the most powerful ways to overcome fear is through visualization. Your mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. So instead of focusing on what could go wrong, focus on the success you're going to create. Picture yourself breaking through, visualize the outcome you want. This shifts your entire energy from one of fear to one of empowerment. Let me remind you of this. Fear is inevitable, but so is your ability to overcome it. You have everything you need to break through it, to rise above it, and to turn it into something that serves you. So don't let fear control your life. Use it as a tool to propel yourself toward your greatest potential. Let's talk about what it means to truly acknowledge your fear. The biggest mistake people make is thinking that fear is something to avoid or ignore. They try to push it down, pretend it's not there, and hope it just goes away on its own. But here's the truth. Ignoring your fear only gives it more control. When you run from it, it gets bigger, stronger, and it begins to influence your decisions in ways you might not even realize. Acknowledging your fear is about taking ownership of it. It's about being honest with yourself and recognizing that it exists, but also understanding that it doesn't define you. The moment you acknowledge your fear, you stop letting it lurk in the shadows of your mind. You pull it out into the open where you can see it clearly for what it is. That's when you start to strip away its power. See, fear thrives in uncertainty. It grows when we don't fully understand it. But when you name your fear, when you say, I'm afraid of this, or I fear that happening, you take the first step in controlling it. You turn it from something vague and overwhelming into something specific, something you can handle. You bring it into focus, and that's when you start to break it down. When you acknowledge your fear, you also open the door to solutions. You can start asking yourself the real questions. What am I actually afraid of? What's the worst that could happen? How likely is that really? You stop reacting emotionally and start thinking rationally. The fear becomes manageable. You realize that most of what you fear is either exaggerated or within your control to change. And here's the key. When you face your fear, you realize that it's not as big as you made it out to be. Most of the time, the fear we've been running from is just a construct of our mind. It's the stories we tell ourselves about what could go wrong. But when you shine a light on it, it starts to fade. It loses its grip. So don't shy away from fear. Lean into it. Acknowledge it fully. Only when you own it can you begin to dismantle it. The power is always within you. Fear is just a temporary obstacle still standing in the way of your growth. And when you confront it, you'll find that you're stronger than anything you fear. Fear is a powerful emotion, but it's not something to run from. It's something to harness. Most people think of fear as the enemy, as something that stops them from achieving what they want. But what if I told you that fear could be one of your greatest allies? It's not about eliminating fear, but about transforming it, using it as a source of fuel to push you forward rather than hold you back. When you feel fear, what's actually happening? Your body is preparing you for action. Your heart races, adrenaline surges, your mind sharpens. These are signals that you're alive, that you're alive, that you're ready for something big. Fear, at its core, is energy. And that energy can either paralyze you or propel you. It's your choice how you respond to it. The problem is most people see fear as a signal to stop. They hit the brakes the moment they feel uncomfortable, thinking that fear means danger. But in most cases, fear is simply a sign that you're stepping into new territory. It's an indication that you're growing, pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone, and that's where all the magic happens outside of that safe little box you built for yourself. You've got to shift your mindset and start looking at fear as a guide, a signpost that you're heading in the right direction. When you reframe it, fear becomes a motivator. It's not telling you to stop, it's telling you to gear up. It's reminding you that you care and that what you're doing matters, and when something matters, you have to be willing to embrace the fear that comes with it. Think about some of the most courageous moments in your life. Were you fearless? No, you probably felt fear, but you moved forward anyway. Why? Because you saw the reward on the other side and you knew that fear was just part of the journey. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is how they use their fear. Those who succeed don't let it hold them back. They use it to fuel their drive, their hunger, their passion. Fear is energy, and energy needs to be directed. If you don't take control of it, it controls you. But when you decide to harness it, to use it as a source of momentum, everything changes. Suddenly, fear stops being something to avoid, and it becomes a tool to push you past your limits, to make you sharper, more focused, and more determined than ever. So the next time you feel fear creeping in, don't shrink back. Lean into it. Feel that energy coursing through you and channel it toward what you want. Let fear fuel your actions, drive your decisions, and propel you forward. Fear doesn't have to stop you. It can be the very thing that powers you to your greatest breakthroughs. Breaking the pattern of fear is one of the most transformative steps you can take in your journey. Fear often becomes a cycle, a repetitive loop of negative thoughts that can trap you and keep you from living your best life. You might find yourself thinking, what if this goes wrong, or I can't handle that? These thoughts create a pattern, a habit of fear that can feel like it's woven into the very fabric of who you are. But here's the thing, you have the power to break that cycle. The first step to breaking the pattern is to recognize it. Awareness is the key. When fear arises, take a moment to pause and identify the thoughts that are swirling in your mind. Are you allowing yourself to spiral into worst-case scenarios? Are you repeating the same negative affirmations? Recognizing these patterns is crucial because it gives you the insight you need to change your response. Once you've identified the pattern, it's time to interrupt it. This can be as simple as changing your physical state. Get up, move your body, take a deep breath, or shout out a powerful affirmation. You have to shake things up. When you physically change your state, you send a message to your brain that you're not going to stay trapped in that fearful mindset. You are in control and you can choose a different path. Think about it, fear often thrives in inaction. When you stay stuck in that pattern, it feeds on itself, growing stronger every time you give into it. But the moment you take action, even a small step, you start to dismantle that fear. It's like breaking a spell. Each time you act against your fear, you create a new pattern, a pattern of courage, resilience, and empowerment. Challenge yourself to replace those fearful thoughts with empowering ones. Instead of thinking, what if I fail, flip it to what if I succeed. When you shift your focus to the positive outcomes, you begin to rewire your brain. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. Your mind starts to recognize that it's okay to step outside of your comfort zone. That growth happens when you take risks.
Surround yourself with reminders of your strength and courage. Create a vision board, write affirmations, or find a community that supports your growth. These tools help reinforce your new patterns, creating a support system that reminds you that fear doesn't have to dictate your life.
Remember, breaking the pattern of fear isn't a one-time event, it's a continuous process. Every day you have the opportunity to challenge those negative thoughts, to take that bold step forward and to create a new reality for yourself. Embrace the discomfort, it's a sign that you're on the right path. With each step you take, you're not just breaking the pattern, you're building a new way of living that empowers you to face your fears head-on and conquer them. You are capable of so much more than you realize, and the only limits that exist are the ones you impose on yourself. So break the pattern, step into your power, and watch how your life transforms. Developing courage through action is one of the most profound shifts you can make in your life. Courage isn't something you're born with, it's a muscle that you build through consistent, intentional action. Too often, people wait for fear to disappear before they take a step forward, believing that courage means feeling fearless. But the truth is, courage is about moving forward despite fear, about taking action even when you're not sure of the outcome. Every time you face your fear, you're exercising that muscle of courage. It starts with small steps. You don't have to leap into the deep end right away. Begin by identifying one small action you can take today that moves you closer to what you desire, whether it's having a difficult conversation, pursuing a new opportunity, or even just sharing your thoughts with someone. By taking that first step, you begin to disrupt the cycle of fear and empower yourself. The moment you take action, something amazing happens. You create momentum. It's like rolling a snowball down a hill. It starts small, but as it gains speed and mass, it becomes unstoppable. That initial action leads to another and another, creating a cascade of courage that can propel you forward in ways you never imagined. You begin to realize that each time you push through fear, you're not just overcoming obstacles, you're building a deeper sense of confidence and self-belief. It's essential to understand that failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of the journey. Every successful person has faced setbacks, challenges, and fears. What sets them apart is their willingness to keep going, to keep taking action even when the path is unclear. When you develop the habit of acting in spite of fear, you create a new narrative for yourself. You start to see challenges as opportunities for growth, and every stumble becomes a lesson rather than a defeat. As you continue to take action, you'll notice that your relationship with fear begins to change. Instead of viewing it as a barrier, you'll see it as a sign that you're on the right track. Fear becomes a signal that you're stretching yourself, that you're growing. The more you confront it, the less control it has over you. You start to thrive on the excitement of pushing your limits, and that thrill of stepping outside your comfort zone becomes your new normal.
Surround yourself with people who inspire you and support your journey. Find mentors, friends, or communities that encourage you to take action. Their energy will help fuel your courage, and together you'll create an environment where taking risks is celebrated.
Remember, courage is contagious. When you witness others stepping into their fears, it will motivate you to do the same. So take that leap. Embrace the discomfort that comes with growth. With each courageous step you take, you're not only developing your courage, but also crafting a life that is rich with possibilities. Every action, no matter how small, is a step toward the life you desire. You have the power to shape your destiny, and that power lies in your ability to act in the face of fear. So go out there and take action, because with every step, you're not just overcoming fear, you're becoming the person you were always meant to be. Visualizing success over fear is a powerful technique that can transform your mindset and your reality. The mind is an incredibly potent tool, and in response to the images you create within it, when you learn to harness this ability, you can reshape your experiences and outcomes. Instead of letting fear dominate your thoughts, you can train your mind to focus on success, and that shift can change everything. When fear arises, it often brings with it a barrage of negative images and worst-case scenarios. Your mind may race with thoughts of failure, rejection, or inadequacy, but what if you consciously redirected that energy? Instead of picturing what might go wrong, start visualizing the success you desire. Imagine yourself achieving your goals, feeling the thrill of accomplishment, and basking in the joy of victory. Close your eyes and immerse yourself in that vision. Feel the emotions, hear the sounds, see the sights. Make it as vivid as possible. This practice isn't just daydreaming, it's about programming your subconscious mind. When you visualize success, you're telling your brain to anticipate positive outcomes. You're essentially rehearsing your success before it even happens. This mental rehearsal can significantly enhance your performance in real-life situations. Athletes, performers, and high achievers across various fields use visualization techniques to prepare themselves for success. They understand that the mind must first see it to believe it and achieve it. But here's the secret: visualization isn't just about seeing the end result, it's also about envisioning the process. Imagine the steps you'll take to get there, the actions, the challenges, and the perseverance required. Visualize yourself overcoming obstacles, pushing through fear, and emerging stronger on the other side. This creates a mental roadmap that prepares you for what's ahead. You begin to anticipate the challenges and see yourself as capable of navigating them with grace and determination. The key is consistency. Make visualization a daily practice. Set aside time each day to connect with your vision of success. Whether it's in the morning to set the tone for your day or at night to reflect on your aspirations, make it a ritual. The more you engage in this practice, the more natural it becomes and the clearer your vision becomes. As you continue to visualize success, you'll notice a shift in your confidence and your approach to fear. Instead of seeing fear as a stop sign, you'll start to recognize it as a natural part of the journey. You'll understand that fear often accompanies growth and that it's merely a signal that you're moving in the right direction. Your visualizations will become a source of motivation, reminding you of what you're capable of and the rewards that await you on the other side of fear. Surround yourself with positivity that reinforces your vision. Read books, watch videos, or engage with people who inspire you and reflect the success you want to achieve. The energy you absorb from these sources will further solidify your commitment to visualizing success and taking action toward it. Ultimately, the power of visualization lies in your ability to create a future that aligns with your true desires. When you consistently focus on success rather than fear, you'll find that your mindset shifts, your actions change, and your reality transforms. You have the incredible ability to shape your destiny, and it all begins with what you choose to see in your mind's eye. So start visualizing your success today, and let that vision guide you through the fears that once held you back. Embrace it, believe in it, and watch as you turn your dreams into reality.